Today's guest is a triple board certified academic physician with a specialist in geriatrics, obesity, and internal medicine. Over the past 20 years, she has impacted thousands of patients' lives in Peru and North America. And today she's going to share with you the secret of achieving joy, meaning, and well-being. Would you please help us welcome our good friend, Dr. Miriam? Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm really excited for our friends to enjoy your energy and to feed on those positive vibes. Now, before you set out on your journey in medicine, what was the dream that you started with, and what excited you about that journey?
So, why I went to medical school truly is a very bizarre story, and I hope I will not disappoint you. I didn't want to be a physician. I used to faint in front of blood, and I was and continue being terrified of needles, and that's the disclosure. However, I wanted to help people. I wanted to save life. I wanted to create an impact. So thinking about going to psychology, my best friend that was applying to medical school convinced me that if I will go for psychology, what about going for psychiatry? And we will be friends forever and we will do this together. And I truly didn't know that to be a psychiatrist, you have to do exactly the same that a doctor. So I didn't know where I was jumping on. Thank God was the best decision of my life. And I don't faint anymore in front of blood. And I am very happy to be a physician. I still run, escaping from needles.
I like that. And during this journey, and I know there's so much study involved, there's a lot of commitment involved to the research. What obstacles did you overcome on the way? So you've overcome the blood, you've overcome the needles. What were some of the other obstacles that you've overcome on the way?
I believe that probably the most impactful moment for me was going out of my bubble where I was living, right? And understanding that not everything is good in life, not everybody has everything that is needed, that justice not necessarily exists, or not in the romantic way that I thought. So when I went to train as a physician, I discovered that people were dying because they didn't have access to care or they didn't have food. And that was very impactful. I developed this, rebel Miriam inside of me. And probably that's where the advocate starts, right? And trying to make things fair. And that's probably the beginning, my obstacle number one, to understand that life is not perfect and that I have to do lemonade with my lemons. And I believe that the second aspect was to understand that I was really sacrificing my life, right? And I want to say that 20, 30 years ago, when I went to medical school, especially in Latin America, being a physician, a female physician, was not necessarily acceptable. And that we were supposed to push ourselves even harder than anybody else to demonstrate that we deserve to be there and sacrifice our personal lives and our dreams to get married and have kids on time so we can be successful. So as many of other female physicians and as many physicians in general, I put my personal life on the side to pursue the dream of being a doctor. And several years later, when you grow up and you understand that balance is something healthy and not everything is work, and that being kind doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice yourself in order to help others, you start thinking that, okay, I did what I consider was the best. I didn't necessarily did the best. And that's where I am right now, confronting my own reality.
One of the things that I've noticed is when I go to the doctor and I'm in pain, I don't stop and ask the doctor, hey, how's your day going? I just walk in pain, can you fix me? And What fascinates me is that there's so much research involved. There's so much knowledge that doctors have to acquire over the years. You've also been certified, triple board certified. Now, a lot of people outside of the medical field, including myself, I don't know what triple board certified means. What does triple board certified mean, and what does it actually involve?
So I want to give a little of background to that. I was a physician and I studied medicine in Peru. And I did my specialty in Peru, and I worked for 10 years in Peru as a physician for the Navy in my country. I came to the US just recently, 11 years ago, following the love of my life. And I decided to start from zero. I have to start from zero here. And do, again, residency and all my trainings. So I repeated my training in internal medicine geriatrics,
Wow.
which is what you were saying. Triple board certified means that not only that you have 2 or 3 specialties, in my case, geriatrics, internal medicine, and obesity, but that you have to take tests, and these are long tests, 9-hour tests, sometimes that force you to prove that you can practice with that certification. And I don't think that that's the most difficult part of it. I believe that maintaining the love for what you are doing, maintaining the joy inside, the curiosity, the excitement, right, about medicine is what is more challenging many times, but at the same time is what keeps you going and keeps you feeling this reward of, every day having the chance to touch the life of someone in hopefully in a positive way.
And we can feel the vibe from here. I love it. It's a good vibe. It's a lovely vibe. Now, today you've seen a big shift in the world, and you're focusing here as a wellness and mental health advocate. Today, what are some of those problems that you're helping your patients solve?
So initially, as a geriatrician, I train not only to treat the heart or the kidney or the results of laboratories, but to train in a holistic approach where, yes, you have a body, of course, and we need to take care of it, but we cannot separate your emotional aspect or your cultural aspect, the social
So
aspect.
I can't take those emotions and just repress them over there, and in 20 or 30 years when I got a little bit of time in retirement, then I can deal with it. I can't do that.
No, not really. And I always say that a good physician is not the one that has a lot of certificates, right? Or that prescribes the most fancy medication. A good physician is the one that has good results. And it's very difficult to have good results when you ignore the human being that you are treating and you treat labs. So imagine that you come to my office and you are in severe pain, right? And you ignore asking me how I feel, which probably will be the case, right? And I ignore the fact that you just lost your dog that was part of your life, that you are having troubles in your work, and that now you don't have the money to have an insurance. So you are paying out of pocket, and in the US, that's very expensive. And yes, you have severe pain. And I tell you, you know what? You have to take this pill, do this test, and go there and come back tomorrow. And in 3 days, I see you again. And you are absolutely terrified because you have no clue how you will pay for it. And I don't even ask you how is life and are you able to. So you leave that office, right? And what happened after that? Probably you go to another doctor, or you come back to me, or you die, or you go to the emergency because this went down the road. And was I a good physician because I sent you the right test or I did the right diagnosis? No. I ignore you as a human being. I ignore your real problems. Maybe the pain was pure anxiety and you don't have the money to pay for all the silly tests that I ordered for you. And I didn't took the time to ask you, how is life? How do you feel for real? And the same with education. When we ignore the fact that just take this and go and do diet and exercise. Great. What is diet? How do you do it? What is exercise? What does that mean? Do I run for a minute? Do I jump? What is that? So you feel very good. You prescribe a lot of good stuff. Your patient didn't understand. You didn't took the time to educate them. And you are missing the opportunity not only to really help them, right? And to create a close relationship where you are part of a team, right? Because the patient is part of the team, the fundamental part of the team, and where you are empowering that patient, but you are also missing the opportunity to really help and to do your job correctly. And I feel like, again, if I miss the human part, I miss medicine, and I refuse to do that.
I remember a couple of years ago here in Taiwan, I had to do some medical checks, but I'd been a little bit sick, so I kept having a problem, and it was something in my stomach. And so I went to the doctor, and they said, well, maybe we should do a colonoscopy. And I said, what's that? And they said, we're going to put a camera inside of you. Now, I just thought they were going to put a camera in my mouth. I didn't realize they were going to put it somewhere else. And so I went into the hospital. I'd fasted for the 24 hours before. I didn't have the breakfast. And so blood sugar's a little bit low. I'm not my happy normal self. And then they said, well, we don't really speak English, but can you bend over? I'm like thinking, you want me to bend over? You're putting a camera in there? and nothing was said. Like, it was just like, bang, there's the camera, and oh, gee, that hurts. And I was thinking to myself, they could have said, like, Mr. Tolson, you've got a nice bum. Thank you for waxing. Thank you for preparing. But there was no human element, and it was a very it wasn't a positive experience. I didn't really want to go through that experience because I was very stressed coming on the way in. But what made it very special on the way out, in their best English, they said to me, oh, Mr. Tolson, we have a photo for you. I said, you got a photo for me? And in their sense of humour, because they couldn't speak English and I can't speak Chinese, they said, you have a very cute freckle. And they took a photo and they gave me a little souvenir. So I felt fantastic at the end. I thought, oh, wow, I've got a cute little freckle in my colon.
I want to advocate for doctors at this point, right? Because I don't want to make this necessarily a problem of doctors not doing their job correctly. I will shift this a little to leadership and corporations and pharmaceuticals and powerful people. If you have 15 minutes to see a new patient, you have 20 more to see in the next few hours. You have to document everything. You have to call patients for labs. You need to, by the way, click all the buttons of very non-needed, right, or not appropriate metrics. How do you find the time to be kind or to be human? And that brings me to the problem of burnout, right? You have doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals all over surviving, just surviving. And what you said is so important, right? And it was kind of a joke, but it's so important. When are we physicians or healthcare workers seen as humans? When a patient will care about the fact that I didn't sleep all night because my kid was vomiting, or I lost my mom 2 days ago, but I am, using my mask that makes me look like everything is normal, and my cape, my white cape that makes me feel like a superhero, and I am here for you no matter what. And this is just a call for help and a call for awareness, because physicians and healthcare workers, we are as a community suffering right now. In the US, 300 to 400 physicians die by suicide yearly. That means that 1 or 2 are dying by their own hands per day. A recent survey that is very similar to 2 years ago before COVID uh, said that after doing a survey in 12,000 physicians, 50 to 60% had burnout, meaning that you have to throw a coin and be lucky that when you go to the emergency or you have a colonoscopy or you will deliver a baby, you have the doctor that is not burned out and things will go in the right direction. Then you have a problem with more than 20% of physicians being depressed clinically, around 60% being or having some symptoms of depression. In the last year of the survey, 1% of these 12,000 physicians attempt suicide, multiply, and 13% thought about doing it. And those numbers are scary. And I am sure that the numbers in nurses or other type of health professionals are even worse. And asking your doctor, how are you doing today, will not change the broken system and will not disappear COVID or the trauma that all of us have to face as society and as a healthcare community, but will bring a little of humanity and this human relationship that we are looking for. We want to serve people, and we enjoy doing that. But that joy comes also from the reciprocity of having that smile and having that thank you so much, or oh, I'm so happy to see you, right? Or say hello to your wife or kiss your kids. And if we start doing that, we will not fix a problem, but we will make physicians and healthcare workers to feel validated and to know that what they are doing every day and all the grief and all the sacrifice that they are experimenting daily is worth it because someone in the other side appreciates it.
At the end of last year, I went for my yearly medical check, and they were doing the doctor was reading my BMI chart, so my body mass index. And he's looking at the numbers, and he's looking, okay, 100 kilos, 183 centimetres. He should be obese because the chart says if you're 100 kilos and you're 183 centimetres, you've got to be obese. But he's looking at me up and down and going, this guy is not obese. He's not overweight. And then he's looking at the chart, and so he's got to read what's on the chart, and he says, Mr. Tolson, you're obese? And he's looking at me, and then he looked down at his own belly, and he looked at his belly, and his shirt was popped open, and his belly button was popping out of his shirt. And I could see that for him, it was really uncomfortable because here he's trying to report on my health, that he didn't have his own health in line. And I could sense the discomfort in it. But you look at the hours that they work, 12 hours a day. Like you said before, every 15 minutes, a patient coming in, another 20 minutes lining up. That's tough when you're taking care of everybody else, but you don't get to take care of yourself. And as a people helper, it's happened to me so many times as well as being a coach. You can get so busy in the middle of your dream helping people that you let yourself go. And then you don't have your own goals other than your career goals. Your health's out of balance, which mine definitely gets out of balance after a sedentary lifestyle. And then you're also lost. But as I know from my side of the screen is that emotions are as contagious as COVID. So when the client comes in, you got to be upbeat. How are you? Fantastic. And you say to yourself, I am not fantastic today. And, we have our own inner conflicts. And one thing that my wife and I do, we have a clinic at the bottom of the tower that we live in. And we've built a relationship with the 2 doctors and the 3 nurses down there. So during their peak periods, we'll just walk past and say hello, and you can see them drowning like, oh, oh. And when they're free, we'll stop in and say hello and check in on them. And it's nice to have a relationship. And we learned recently that the doctor was having a conflict with the landlord. And the landlord saying, you're busy. You've got so many people here coming for COVID injections, and there's people, hundreds lining up. And the landlord says, you must be making a fortune. So we're going to jack the rent up. So it's right in the middle of COVID. They're jacking the rent up and they're trying to evict the doctor. So the doctor's got to see these hundreds of people every single day for the vaccines. They're trying to launch another business half a kilometre up the street. And because they've got to serve so many people, they can't even get on with their business life. So now they're paying rent in two premises, one that's not even open, and they're drowning. But they've got hundreds of people they've got to see every single day. They're trying to fight this battle with the landlord. And you can see it. They're mentally and emotionally and physically exhausted, but there's 100 people who are more concerned about their vaccine this time. So it is challenging. So these past 2 years, they've been a big awakening for you. Yes. You've also reassessed your priorities. What was the trigger? What made you change direction?
I will say that I had personal things happening and I have professional things happening. In the professional side, I ended involved in a toxic environment, and I tried to fight the system. That's me. I am an idealistic.
That rebel from university coming back.
Yeah, kind of, yes, in some way. And I realized that sadly, there are times that you need to acknowledge that you cannot control everything. And that's very painful for a type A personality, workaholic, Latin woman, a doctor, right? So that was very challenging for me, and put my family in a position that I was compromising my relationship with my kids and my husband because of level of stress that I was managing, trying to fix the world, right? And not accepting that I didn't have superpowers, sadly. In my family side, my kids suffered tremendously during COVID. They were terrified because they were smart enough to understand that COVID could kill you and that mommy is going to work. So when I got COVID at the beginning, when we didn't know even what it was, they were terrified that I could die. And I saw them suffering, and this continue. My kid today still asks if I will die and why God takes people and why people cannot live forever, and has been a big issue for him, and made me realize that yes, I mean, I could die, not necessarily COVID, but anything could happen to any of us. And at the end of your life, what do you want to feel proud of? Again, your certificates, the thousands of people maybe that you train and touch their life, which is very important. But what about your kids, your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife? Last but not least, during the 2 years that I was separated from my parents, they were in Peru during COVID. My mom developed dementia. And at the moment that we went to see her, even she was able to recognize us through a camera, she was not able to recognize us in real life. So I felt very guilty, and it was not my fault. I was not able to travel. I understand that. But I felt very guilty of all the opportunities that I missed to be in the camera and spend more time, or be present and not be typing my job, what I was trying to look like. I'm talking with my mom and I care. And all this mix of things forced me to ask myself what I was doing with my life, and how is that I went so deviated from my core values and the person that I wanted to be. And I quit my job 4 months ago without having absolutely any plan, just the plan to change my life. I was lucky enough to find a new style of working, doing telehealth in pajamas in my house, close to my kids, which is totally different. I can go to Peru, be in Peru with my parents and still work. So I can move myself around and give me also the time to do my new project in life, that is to really advocate for mental health, for well-being, and to, in that, as a part of the journey, to write a book about that, my journey, the things that I learned, the things that I still have to work at, and to create this awareness that life is more than work.
Your book is called The 3G Cycle of Life. What can we expect in the book when you launch it in 2023?
So I want to say something before that. So yes, it will be launched in January 2023, but the pre-sale of the book will start July 29. So it's
8 days from today.
yeah, so it's kind of exciting. So what they will find. So I decided to create a new paradigm about life. I feel like living a life that is linear makes you feel very stressed, because it's like you fail and no way to go back on time. And as someone related to science, I see that everything in our world, right, is actually cyclic. And if you think about nature, right, day and night, the year, reproduction, pollination, the our periods for women, right? Every 28 days, no doubt. And how we produce energy, the cycle of Krebs. So everything is done in cycles. So why life cannot be a cycle? So I thought, well, my kids play these electronic things. They are very good. I have no idea what to do with these devices. And they fail, level 1, and they have a chance to go again. You kind of have a lot of lives there, right? And when you get to finish that level, you go to the next one. So cool, right? And probably now you know much better than before, and you have more skills. So what about life being like that, like a video game, right? Where we have cycle after cycle, we close one cycle to get to the other, and we develop skills through life. So every cycle has clear components in science. So I look for components for my personal cycle, and everything for me starts with a goal. And there are goals that are forced by society. You should get married at that age, and you need to have kids, right?
You better get a house, you better get a mortgage.
Yes, and finish school on time. So there are things that are forced by society, and they are, well, goals, but they are dreams. The things that you want to achieve, right? The place that you want to visit, the people that you want to help, the book that you want to write. And that's what really is the beginning of any cycle, your goal. And you need this grit, this energy, this motivation, something that moves you around, right? And that's my second G, right? Goal, grit. And then in theory, you will close that cycle achieving your goal. But that is not true. We don't get our goals, all the time, and we don't close those cycles, and therefore we fail. But I didn't want to fail. That's not who I am. That's not how I want to feel. I don't close my cycle with goals. I close my cycles with grow, because it doesn't matter what happened. I achieve or not that goal. I learn something. I am a different person. I have new skills, or at least I know what I don't have to do again. Then when the cycle is closed, right? If you close it and you have your goal, you go to the next one. If you didn't have your goal, now it's time for you to think, is this the right cycle for me? Do I need to repeat it because I failed it? Or do I need to maybe change it because I really didn't want to be a lawyer? I tried, I didn't pass the bar, but I discovered that I want to be a cooker or have a restaurant, right? And that's my real goal in life. Great. That's okay. You didn't fail. You changed your journey. And that's wonderful. Why not? So if you think about that, there is not failure. There are changes in priorities. There are second opportunities, sometimes third opportunities. And there is always an opportunity to reassess what you are doing with your life. And then I added catalyst because life is not so simple, right? And then you have this positive catalyst that will make your life so easy. Your dad has a lot of money and is paid for everything, right? And maybe you are blonde with blue eyes and a beautiful body. I'm sure life probably will be better for you, right? You have emotional intelligence. You are a strong, healthy person. But there are catalysts that are not so positive, and I don't want to call them negative really because I don't see them like negative. I see them like challenging. You have a disability, you have a mental illness, you come from a poor family, you are an immigrant, you have an accent like I do, right? You are part of a minority. Are those negative? No, they will delay the process, they will make it more difficult. But doesn't matter that you cannot achieve your goal. Doesn't mean that you cannot, get your dreams become true. And probably those challenging catalysts are the ones that will make you grow even more. Those are the ones that make you better, right? And the book is divided in chapters. Each catalyst is a chapter and each of the parts of the cycle. And what I did is I realized and I recognized that I am not a psychologist, I am not a counselor, I don't know everything in the world, right? So I needed help. And I started contacting people in LinkedIn that I never met in my life. And they started to say yes to my question, will you help me, will you teach me, will you be part of my journey? So I have 35 individuals that
Wow.
go, yes, that go from Wall Street to very famous journalists with awards even from Obama and BMX athletes, professional athletes, my medical students and residents, physicians, lawyers, mothers, fathers, politicians, and I collected the stories from them, and I also collected their experience. And the book is a mix of that. Every chapter has 2 or 3 individuals. And I have a couple of special participants in the book. One is my sister, and you can see there, so all the amazing people. And one is my sister, and the other one is actually my son, Ellie. And Ellie is 8 years old today, but he was six or
Happy
seven.
birthday. On the 19th of
Well, not,
July.
no, not today, but today on time. This year is
Oh,
8
okay,
years.
this year.
It will be, yeah, it will be great if it's today. but um, but what is wonderful about Ellie is that it's very insightful. And Ellie taught me one day, when I was very tired and very unwilling to play with him, he asked me to play, and I was like, "Whatever you want," and he's like, "No, mommy, you have to select Lego or Play-Doh," and I'm like, "Whatever you want, it's okay." And he came to me and he's like, "Mommy, no," and he stopped me and he's like, "No, no, mommy, no." I'm like, "No, what, mommy? This is your life. This is your choice. This is your journey." And I was terrified at that point because he was so right. So I am using that phrase as, the first page of my book, because this book is about that, removing this feeling of being victims. We are not victims of what happened around us or what happened to us. We have a choice. We have a power inside of us. We have knowledge. And the things that we don't have, we ask for help. We ask for, support. And we cannot decide to just watch the movie of our life. I believe that we need to, be the writers of our own books. And that's my book, and that's my journey, and those amazing individuals that you were showing there, they are becoming part of my life and part of my journey. You can see there Natalia, she was my resident. Ricardo Rossello is part of of the U.S. As a U.S. delegate in the Congress, a monk, a former Buddhist nun, part of the group, business people, physicians, people that is experts in emotional intelligence. I have one of the most amazing individuals, a lawyer that created the first law in the United States to protect the well-being of physicians. If you go up, Corey Faced, an amazing inspiration. My sister, Shiri Gabrielis, my friend from school. We know each other since we are three, successful lady. And I want to show you one special person. If you go down or up, I have never, like Leslie Wirch. So no, up, down, and there you are. Again, down.
There we go. Left-hand side, Leslie.
In blue, in light blue. So Leslie actually, Leslie has been my inspiration for my next project. So Leslie lost her son by suicide when he was 20, a few years ago. Handsome guy, very smart, with no red flags, no background of mental disease or anything else that will, create concerns. After his death, she decided that she will do her best to avoid this to happen again to other parents. And she created an organization, and she goes around the country creating awareness about mental health, suicide prevention, and her target is actually kids and schools. She teaches resilience to kids. So having kids, being a mom, and so touching. I thought that it would be a great idea to transform the book not only on a dream but in a reality of helping people. So she will be the first person or the first organization that will be receiving the money that we will be collecting with the book, and hopefully she will not be the last person or organization that will be. So the revenue of the book will start being directed to organizations to help people and to create awareness on mental health.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do is I want you to head over to Dr. Miriam's website now, which is 3gcycle.live, and I'll share the link in the show notes below, and make sure you pre-register for the upcoming book, The 3G Cycle of Life. Now, before we wrap up, Dr. Miriam, what's your final words of advice to anybody who might be suffering and they're too afraid to bring it up with a loved one or a professional? What advice would you share with them?
I will say that the best demonstration of strength is to ask for help. That's not something that shows weakness, shows strength. Why? Because first of all, you need to have self-awareness to identify that you have a problem. And self-awareness is something that is not necessarily very common. And takes a lot of, a very high level of emotional intelligence. After going through this process of recognizing that you have a problem, now you need to evaluate how big it is, right? And how much you can do and how much need your help you need, and at that moment go out in a situation where you are emotionally naked and very vulnerable, exposing your gaps, exposing your fears, right? Exposing your soul to someone, and say, I need help. When you are doing that, you are demonstrating that you want to get better, that you have that power inside of you, that you have that wish to go out of the hole where you are. And that is pure strength, pure grit. And after that, you cross that line and everything will be better. So it's just a question to cross that line. Ask for help, nothing wrong about that. You will be surprised of the beautiful things that will happen after that.
I agree. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And strong people always ask for help. And they've said it for years, knock and the door will open. And we are good at self-help, but we get to a level where we need outside assistance, and that fills in that gap of emotional intelligence, because oftentimes we're the last person to know that we're stressed. Other people will pick it up, but we won't pick it up. Even if we put on that mask and we say, hey, I'm fantastic, they might see that smile going in the wrong direction. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And you can even help yourself today by going over to Dr. Miriam's website, 3gcycle.live, and you can start to learn more about the upcoming book. Dr. Miriam, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you
It's
so
been an
much.
absolute pleasure.
And send love to everybody, good energies, and be healthy, be happy.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, one new idea at the right time is enough to change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and have a wonderful day.